This is another Black Girl podcast.
Black girl.
We're doing our best to make it last. This is another Black Girl podcast.
Black girl.
We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl podcast.
Yes. Welcome everyone to the 14th episode of another Black Girl podcast. As always, this is your host, Lauren, Lori, Laura, Renee, whatever other name you probably call me by now. Doesn't really matter. So anyways, I am so grateful for you tuning in and being present and supporting this podcast. This episode, we're going to talk about a couple of things. So stay tuned. Before we get into it, though, I just wanted to congratulate you on finishing, and making it to the end of another week. We are still in a pandemic, and some days seem more unbearable than others, which is absolutely understandable, and those feelings are completely and totally valid. So, if this was an unbearable week for you, you made it. So give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a hug, dap yourself up, because you made it another week. And that's more than a lot of people can say. Lately on my socials, I've been doing a series called Words You Might Hear Leading Up to the Election. Clearly, it's exclusive because it is American, and our general election is on November 3rd. At the latest possible date, and if you are an American, please vote. But our election is on November 3rd. So, it's not just Instagram. Sorry. My social media is cycling through and going through and sharing a series called Words You Might Hear Leading Up to the Election. If you're interested, it's easiest to follow on my Instagram at anotherbgi. It is also able to follow, you're also able to follow it on Twitter at anotherbgt and on Facebook, as you guessed it, at anotherbgf. So basically, it's just some vocab to me that has seemed a little intimidating, but it is exclusive and based on American government and the American electoral process. And while our election is coming up, it's also important to be cognizant of the way our president-elects deal with international issues, aka foreign affairs. And one thing that I've been seeing all over my timeline is this acronym SARS. People call it SARS, but it stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and it was established in 1984 in Nigeria. So basically, this group, SARS, was created by the Nigerian government to protect its citizens from crime. But this group has created a lot of the crime in the area, and it's been the vehicle in which the government carries out. That's honestly the simplest way that I can say it. But SARS is responsible for the kidnappings and murders and robberies and torture of a lot of Nigerian people. And I mean, leading up to this election and in this pandemic, American Black people have been facing corruption. We've been facing police brutality. And even in Portland, we've been facing some military-grade force. And overseas, our Nigerian brothers and sisters have been experiencing the same exact thing. And I would be remiss if I didn't speak about it, because we can't say that Black Lives Matter and make it exclusively American. If Black Lives Matter here, they matter overseas, they matter from here all the way around the globe and back again. When we say Black Lives Matter, we mean all Black lives matter. Black Not just meaning American Black, not just meaning cisgendered, heterosexual Black. All Black lives matter. And if all Black lives matter, corruption everywhere that specifically targets and oppresses Black people, it must come to an end. So whether it's SARS or the police, the American police that need to be defunded, this corruption has to come to an end. And if you believe that Black lives matter, not just here, but internationally and worldwide, I need you to advocate for the end and the abolition of SARS. Not only have they been responsible for these terrible acts, but while their citizens are protesting their very existence, they have killed countless Nigerian citizens. And as a Black person who can trace their ancestry through the transatlantic slave trade, those are my people. That is my nation. That is my history. That is my lineage. And I would be remiss if I advocate for change in the country which I currently stand without advocating for change in the country and the nation that I am truly from. So if you agree with this message, if you feel the way I do, it takes 20 seconds if you can type almost as fast as me, but it takes little to no time to tweet about how SARS must end and how corruption worldwide must end. It takes no time to make an Instagram post or repost that corruption everywhere, especially government corruption and voter and protest suppression, must come to an end. And just like American government, this Nigerian government exploits and targets those low income and especially vulnerable groups and demographics of people. Black Americans, if your heart has been hardened for whatever reason, we know this song. We've been to this pit stop, we've bought the t-shirt and the bumper sticker, we've heard the song 1,000,000 times over. It's our time to speak up for our brothers and sisters, the way they've been speaking up for us. And the same way that I said it's important that we recognize the way our president-elects move during this time in regards to SARS and the police brutality and government corruption in Nigeria, I actually saw something on Twitter that said that the U.S. condemned excessive force in Nigeria in regards to SARS. And you know, this could be its own episode about America and its use of excessive force with Black and brown neighborhoods, but specifically Black neighborhoods. That could be its own episode. That could be its own thing. But you know, I just find it funny. Because who is the U.S. to condemn a nation? Who is the U.S. to condemn a nation about the use of excessive force, especially towards Black people? Like, is the pot calling the kettle black here? Because I'm just a little perturbed, perplexed, confused, you know. Maybe I'm seeing double because this is the same thing. But you know what? Maybe I'm tripping. But it looks very hypocritical to me. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what? That's not all I'm gonna say. If we want to talk about the use of excessive force in America, we could Google Black massacres in America and look at all of the dates and locations in which America used excessive force and wasn't necessarily condemned because they tried to cover it up with Black people. And I mean, a prime example, and one of the most popular examples, is Tulsa in 1921. And, if you don't know, maybe you should Google it. Because it's almost 100 years later. Like, come on. If you don't know by now, especially if you're American, if you don't know by now, you need to know. So, I just find it funny that this country would condemn that, especially this administration, when the President of the United States, the current one, was calling for the death penalty of the Central Park Five before he got in office. And granted, it was a while before he got into office, but it still stands. That's use of excessive force, especially since the Central Park Five became the exonerated five. But what do I know? Only 22. So, I was on NBCnews.com a little earlier, and I saw an article that basically said COVID-19 could be here for years if only half of Americans take the vaccine. Child, what? What the hell? What do you mean it can be here for years? The bubonic plague is still here. And, I'm sorry. My opinion is my opinion. I'm not telling you what to do. But this current administration, specifically this current sitting president, told us to inject ourselves with disinfectant to prevent from catching COVID-19. So, I will possibly get the COVID-19 vaccine once I see our commander-in-chief take it himself. And I'll give it the incubation period of COVID-19. I'll give it 14 days. And maybe I might actually consider. But he has to do it first, because I'm not doing that. This country still hasn't paid me reparations. I still have a lot to live for. And when I saw that article, it reminded me of an article that I saw on NBCnews.com that said a COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials include Black participants. Child, haven't we been through enough? Man, we done built the damn nation for you to live in. We built the White House, like we built. The list goes on, but we built, period. Full stop. We built the culture, we built the nation, we built the economy, we built everything. We built infrastructure. I don't understand. And have we not heard of the Tuskegee experiments? Child. Black people, if it was up to me, Black people would not be the guinea pigs any longer. How many more times we gotta go through this before you recognize that this ain't it? Me personally, I'm not gonna be a guinea pig. And you can't bamboozle or hoodwink me into thinking that I must bear the brunt. I must carry the cross for this vaccine to work. Yes, the good of the American people. I'm here for it. I believe in it. It's great. But I'm not about to kill myself the same way my ancestors did for the quote American good or the quote democracy. You bugging out, man. Get out of here. And I mean, if you know anything about African Americans in American history, we have learned not to trust our medical system, because oftentimes it experiments on and kills us. So in short, the answer is no. And yes, it is proven that life has come and all life abounds from the motherland, aka Africa, but I, an African descendant, will not be a part of that. Point blank, period. And if I wanted to be on an episode of Lovecraft Country, I would have just auditioned. Also, sidebar, if you're not watching Lovecraft Country on HBO, the season finale just took place on Sunday. If you're not watching it, if you're not binging it, if you're not catching up on it, what are you doing? Misha Green, all the way from the premiere of Underground, has been finessing and killing the game. Misha Green is an absolute and total star and showrunner. She is killing it, and I am proud of her, just like I am proud of Journey Smollett and Jonathan Majors and Ingenue Ellis and all of the actors in Lovecraft Country. If you haven't yet, if you support this podcast, you need to watch Lovecraft Country. It is equal parts racism, American history, sci-fi, and fantasy. And if you're like me and if we have the same tastes, then you will love it, I promise. You will. And yes, when we're talking about the involvement of and disposability of Black people in the American medicinal system, we can talk about the mortality rate of Black women. We can talk about a lot of things. But in short, again, if you are Black and you are listening to this, if the opportunity arises and if they offer you money, based on the history of this country and the way they've treated Black people in the medicinal system, they might tell you it's a COVID vaccine when it's really not. Let that sink in. So if you're Black and they tell you to get a vaccine because the rest of the world and the democracy of the American people depends on it, say no if you value yourself, your family, and your life. Because that is the state of our nation, and that has been the state of our nation, and furthermore, the state of this world. Just skip it. Collect 200, do not pass go. I don't care what you have to do. Wash your car, get a root canal, just don't get the vaccine until we see some kind of politician or president-elect, until we see someone who is a leader of our very prestigious nation do it. You better not do it. Black, white, purple, I don't care. Until you see a politician do it, you better not. And that's on period. I've been thinking so hard about this week's affirmation, and I couldn't get it. I was thinking about it, and then I got something, and then I was overthinking it. But you know what? I think a lesson for me, and a lesson that I want to share with you, is that affirmations don't always have to be these groundbreaking, earth-shattering, mind-boggling, completely transcendent things. Affirmations can be simple. The work it takes to become your highest self can be simple. Granted, it won't always be simple, but at certain points in your life and in certain seasons, it absolutely and totally can be. And for this affirmation, all I've got is, I'm grateful for myself. Again, this week's affirmation is, I'm grateful for myself. And of course, that includes the vessel in which we are encapsulated in. or the vessel that we currently are, or who we currently are in this present moment. But it also includes our spirit and our perseverance. So yes, if I'm grateful for myself, I'm going to honor the vessel, because I believe that I'm a spirit encapsulated in a vessel. So if I'm grateful for myself, I'm going to take care of the spirit within and the vessel without. I'm grateful for this body that I have been placed in. I'm grateful for the way it looks, the way it moves. I'm grateful for its ability, for its flexibility, for its movability, for all of the words and abilities that don't really exist that would describe the way my body moves. I'm grateful. But I'm also grateful because it's brought me through all of the battles, all of the physical and spiritual battles, all of the things that I have survived thus far. And yeah, I could say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but that's absolutely cliche and not true. Some of the stuff that doesn't kill you kills you spiritually. Woo, that was dark, I'm sorry. But some of the stuff that doesn't kill you physically can take a toll. And I mean, you have been there for 100% of those battles. So be grateful for that. Be grateful that you have seen yourself through. You've persevered no matter what the odds were, and no matter how they were stacked against you. So just like I said regarding you overcoming this week, give yourself a pat on the back because you've persevered through all of the battles you have faced thus far. You have made it. And it has not killed you. It may have weakened you, but you have found the ability within yourself to get back up. You have found it in you to push forward, to see another day, and for that you should be proud. And yes, it is a pandemic. Yes, people are still dying. People are getting sick. Yes, things are hard. Yes, grief can come and punch you in the gut. And yes, we're not sure of when things will get easier. But in all things, try to see yourself through. It's no one else's responsibility but yours. Try. And if you fail, you can try again another day. But just try to see yourself through. Like I've said before, try to be kind to yourself. And every day that you make it, give yourself a hug, pat yourself on the back, dap yourself up, because you've made it another day. So that concludes today's episode. I'm so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful that you are here with me. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at AnotherBGI. On Twitter, you can find me at AnotherBGT. On Facebook, you can find me at AnotherBGF. I know, it's corny. If you want to find me on my personal website, you can find me www.anotherbg.com. No spaces, no underscores, no nothing. And if this pandemic has been a lot for you, the same way it's been a lot for me, you can come affirm with me in my Deca Affirmations ebook. You can find it on my website. It takes all the affirmations from the first 10 episodes and gives it the space that it needs. It gives it and points you in the direction of really creating the space that some of those affirmations need. And not only is it beneficial for you, but it was beneficial for me in creating it and reading it and going through it. And I hope that you have the same experience. So once you check it out, once you purchase it, it's 39 pages. It retails for $15. If you have any feedback about the workbook or about my Instagram aesthetic or about my website or my theme song, you can leave all feedback in the contact me section of my website on, again, www.anotherbg.com. As always, I love you. I'm so grateful that you are here with me. I'm so grateful for your presence. And I hope you have a phenomenal week or a great weekend, and that you are staying safe and healthy and COVID-free. I love you. I'll speak to you soon.
We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl Podcast.